Happy Pride Month, by the way. I haven't said it to you guys yet. And, I wanted to say, did you have a good weekend? I hope so. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification button, and let's dish it. This video is about Chrisley Knows Best, Todd and Julie Chrisley's indictment, a case update, etc. I think you'll enjoy it. There's a lot of information flying around about this criminal case, but it's kind of scattered. And I think that's been intentional. They've really released it in this like slow, spurty way, and it's very hard to follow. So this is going to be a cohesive video about where we're at with things. But before I get started, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification button, or else. Just kidding. I'm not very good. Let me do it again. Let me try to be Erica from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Ready? Or else. Okay, let's do this. I'm stupid. So a press release was released on August 13th, 2019 from the Northern District of Georgia Justice Department on federal criminal charges to Julie Chrisley and Todd Chrisley of Chrisley Knows Best. And what was shocking to me was that they actually gave Julie more charges than Todd. And what it said was this, the important part. Todd and Julie Chrisley are charged not only with defrauding a number of banks by fraudulently obtaining millions of dollars in loans, but also with allegedly cheating taxpayers by actively evading paying federal taxes on money they've earned. Okay. And then they went on in the press release to be like, we're coming for you celebrities that try to not pay your federal taxes, and, take this as warning, America, that will come for anyone. And okay, so then the next part of this says, according to the U.S. Attorney PAC, the charges and other information presented in court from at least 2011 to 2012, Todd and Julie allegedly conspired to defraud numerous banks by providing the banks with, get this, false information such as personal financial statements containing false information and fabricated bank statements when applying for and receiving millions of dollars in loans. Okay, then the indictment goes on that Todd Chrisley, 51, and Julie Chrisley, 46, both of Nashville, Tennessee, are also charged with conspiring with their Roswell, Georgia-based accountant, Peter Tarantino, 56, of Milton, Georgia, to defraud the Internal Revenue Service. Okay. So Peter, their accountant in Georgia, was also indicted. The thing is that when you read how they were defrauding the banks on loans, they were literally like cutting and pasting materials together to create false documents, like on a copier machine. They take a piece of this and a piece of that, like, think 1983 fake ID fraud or something. Like, it's kind of like that. The criminal jury trial started in mid-May. And as of last Friday, the jurors started doing their deliberation on whether or not the Chrisleys are guilty or innocent. And so very stressful time for them. I'd say they're really scared, really, really, really scared. I know that Chrisley seems like he's always got everything under control and nothing phases him, but I promise you, this is like devastating to go through. Devastating. So I think he's probably, really, really scared. And I'm sure the whole family is. So Chrisley was CC'd on an email to a bank that had a financial statement attached that showed he had $4 million in a Merrill Lynch account. But the prosecution proved that they didn't have a Merrill Lynch account. So the statement had to be false because he had no account with Merrill Lynch. Also, he wrote back in that email chain that the accountant was, quote, "You are a fucking genius. Just make it show 4 million." So this guy, who I'm going to show you a picture of, his name is Mark Braddock. And he went to the federal government and said that he could rat out the Chrisleys in return for immunity and protection from the federal government. He could prove that they had done all of these crimes. And Mark Braddock, I guess, resented the Chrisleys because he wanted to live their lavish lifestyle. But more came out about Mark Braddock than that. The relationship went deeper. He was more of a scorned lover. So Braddock testified that he had a sexual relationship and a romantic relationship with Todd Chrisley, and that was why he falsified all these documents for him as his business partner and did all of these things that were illegal to help Todd, because he was secretly in love with him. Now, this gentleman, by the way, is married with a full-on family and said that he had never had a gay relationship before this time with Todd Chrisley. Relationship went on for a year, he said, and then he said they just became business partners after the year of being romantic with each other. And at that point, they called themselves like brothers. And doesn't this have Jen Shaw and Stewart vibes, like together forever till the end? And then, you know, they basically put you in jail. Chrisley had a foreclosure management company, which is probably not a great business to be in if you're doing stuff that people could take you down with, because people get really pissed when their house gets foreclosed on. Anyway, he got a text message, Braddock testified, that said, "Pay cash and we'll shut up." According to the ex-business partner's testimony, he then made $9,500 in withdrawals from a business account and subsequently met Chrisley in a parking garage and gave him the cash in a little bag to pay the blackmailer. I mean, is this like a movie? This sounds like. I'm sure you guys have heard that Todd Chrisley was estranged from his oldest daughter, Lindsay Chrisley, and so is Julie. Less so Julie, though. That basically the reason she was estranged from her father was like she and him didn't get along, and to try to control her, he said with her brother that they were going to release a sex tape that they had of her. I mean, can you imagine your own dad threatening you that he's going to release a sex tape that who knows how he managed to get that, by the way. I'm not even sure how the hell I don't even want to think about that. But let's just say that he had this sex tape. Can you imagine threatening your own daughter that you're going to release a sex tape to the public? What? I mean, so that's what she said. She said they were trying to extort her and told the FBI that. Can't lie to the FBI, it's a felony. She wrote, "In no way, shape, or form am I connected to that monster." Anyway, under cross-examination, she seemed to backtrack and regret throwing her dad under the bus so much. She went on to say that she didn't really believe there was a sex tape and that she didn't believe her father was behind the extortion. The older daughter seems a little bit like she's all over the shop. Anyway, she said that she now felt that her father's top priorities were his children and his wife in that order. She went on to say that Chrisley, the dad, was there when, helping her through her eating disorder and helped her brother Kyle when he had a drug addiction issue. And so, I guess the takeaway is that he's not a bad father. And, she regrets some of the things she alleged to the FBI. But she's, she shouldn't have said things that she wasn't sure about to the FBI. That's all I'm going to say. People are so awful. The most compelling testimony I heard, which was to Chrisley's benefit, was this woman by the name of Donna Cash, who said that the gentleman Braddock, who went to the feds, and said that, he had done all this financial crime with Chrisley, and he wanted protection. This Donna Cash woman said that she had been told by him to make it look like Chrisley was doing a lot of financial fraud by sending false documentation to loan companies, and that Braddock told her that he wanted to ruin Chrisley's life. So this Donna Cash woman is also showing that there was a conspiracy, that maybe some of this fraudulent documentation that's been sent to financial organizations wasn't done on Chrisley's instruction. So unbeknownst to him, people were committing fraud for his benefit of getting loans, but it was maybe a setup to take him down later, or maybe a booby trap or whatever, you know. So, I mean, that is pretty compelling. You know, yes, it would appear that there was some funny business, but maybe not to the extent that, you know, of what ended up happening. Now, the prosecution has gone to great lengths to show that he used these loans that he got for his lavish lifestyle. By the way, he says that his lavish lifestyle is all fake on the show. Just we'll have to give this filter to Nanny Faye because she's a little queen, that little old lady. So cute. Anyway, she said she had no idea. She testified in court of how her name was being used on financial documents. She said, I forget everything. I don't read documents. I just sign them. If my son says sign and my daughter-in-law says sign, then I sign. And that's what she said in court. This came up because Chrisley had this company, 7C Productions, and this is, I guess, how he was defrauding the IRS. He had his mom's name on this production company, and then the day before, I guess all the shit hit the fan, Julie changed it from his mother, Elizabeth, Nanny Faye, to her, and she put her name on it, probably to protect the mother, because she's elderly, and they didn't want her to have to go through, obviously, you know, being linked to some sort of fraud thing. So Julie seems to have jumped in and, like, realizing there was an issue, took her off it. But she didn't know any of this was happening with this company. And I guess the idea with this company was that he was writing all of his expenses off that were really not supposed to be written off in a large amount, so that it was really considered fraud by the IRS. See, what really, I think, pissed the government off is they found out that the Chrisleys had filed for bankruptcy and they had written off $20 million in loans in that bankruptcy. So I think the Fed's position was these people used fraudulent means to get all these loans and then filed for bankruptcy in order to escape paying the loans back. And they just walked away with like $20 million because that's how much they like wrote off in the bankruptcy. So it was like, I don't know why they didn't go for bankruptcy fraud. Maybe they felt they couldn't prove it because they were truly broke. But obviously you're not supposed to take out loans with under false pretenses and then file for bankruptcy to get rid of the loans with that intention. It's supposed to be that, you know, you're getting loans normally and then you might have a financial incident. And that financial incident might create financial ruin for you. And then you, of course, legitimately could file for bankruptcy because you didn't see something coming and how could you know? And, you know, this happens. And the reason bankruptcy is there is because our founding fathers wanted people to be able to financially start over that took risk in business, because they didn't want people so risk adverse in their country that they wouldn't create jobs by starting companies in business and being entrepreneurials. The idea was bankruptcy was like a fresh start. And frankly, our founding fathers, many of them took huge risks. A lot of them would have been indicted today, to be honest. But, you know, they also needed a start over, a reset button sometimes on some of the risks they took on inventions and things they were doing. So, you know, it served that entrepreneurial nature of the country, but it can't be misused. So a few really corrupt things. One is that supposedly Nanny Faye, you know, applied for a Bentley that she knew nothing about, and that Bentley ended up going to the Chrisleys. Also, there was money being funneled into her personal bank account. They didn't get into detail on this, but I'm assuming from 7C Productions. It paid a dividend to its owner, and that dividend was, you know, to his mom. But like, you know, he had taken a bunch of write-offs. Anyway, the bottom line is the feds were like, you can't make millions of dollars on a TV show and show no profit. Sorry. Through your production company. I mean, that's really, what it comes down to. So the business partner also testified to some lifestyle things that were interesting. One was that Todd Chrisley purportedly traveled to LA twice a month to get his hair done, but was struggling to pay his bills. That his foreclosure management company in 2008 was doing very, very well, but they were still outspending what they were taking in. They had 3 housekeepers working 5 days a week, God, dirty people, and buying luxury cars and had high American Express bills, he said. The jurors were really shocked, visibly, about the hair care routine of Todd Chrisley, which I think is hilarious. That was the thing that really took people aback, was that he flew to LA to get his hair done.
Priorities.
When he had no money, twice a month. That's really funny, though. I'm sorry, I had to stop. What was shocking is supposedly they were living on $500,000 to $600,000 a month. And what's weird is Julie Chrisley had a nickname, Asses on Fire, because she was running around trying to pay bills and keep people at bay so they wouldn't be, come for the Chrisleys in an aggressive way. Wow, this is awful. So why did Julie get more charges? Well, she submitted fake credit reports, which they scrapbooked together. That's the cutting and pasting I mentioned earlier. She, to try to get a house to rent in California, and then they ended up not paying the rent. And of course, I'm sure the feds that were already investigating them reached out to the landlord when they saw, probably a legal proceeding starting, to see what financials they gave over to that landlord on that property. And then they realized it was more fake financials flying around. But anyway, Julie supposedly did that. So she got in trouble for that. And then when they started investigating, she sent more fraudulent documents to try to show that they weren't lying. And so she basically lied to the government. So they got her on that. So that's why she ended up with more. That's like an obstruction of an investigation. So you can't. Wow, it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, our government is we have the most lethal Justice Department in the world. In the world. Like, my advice, guys, take it from me, is like, do everything overly perfect. Document everything overly perfect if you can. When in doubt, disclose. Because it's at this point, the statistic I think is something like 1 in 4 Americans have a felony. Like, there are so many laws. There actually was an effort made, I think, by the ACLU where they tried to count the amount of state and federal laws, and there were so many that it was impossible to count them all. So chances are you're breaking the law even though you don't even know you're breaking the law. That's the real reason they don't want felons to vote, and why they keep them civilly dead, is because there's so many that like their vote could really matter. Yeah, I know. And guess what? A lot of the felonies sitting with minorities with the inability to pay for fair legal representation against a government that has unlimited funds. But listen, it's all good. It's all good. So we'll know the verdict by the jury this week. And we'll then they'll be, depending on if it's innocent or guilty or a hybrid, they then will go and they'll have an option to appeal if they want to appeal on a basis of law. And if they don't, then they will be sentenced in 3 months. But I don't think it's fair that this Braddock guy, who obviously had a conspiracy to take down Chrisley and told the feds about all this wrongdoing, should be protected, honestly. I don't think immunity should be granted to people that like that. I'm sorry. I don't get that at all. Do you? I don't know. They should have indicted him and then made him flip. I don't know, it's just what I'm thinking. I thought the closing arguments for Chrisley's side was pretty damn good. Basically, they said that this gentleman seems unhinged, Braddock, that all of the emails that the government was relying on came from him. So could it be that he doctored them or faked them? It's already been established that he had it out for him and that he had instructed people to do something that made them look like they were doing, defrauding banks when they may or may not have been even instructed to do that. So they're saying the evidence is unreliable. And then the accountant, Peter Tarantino, is just like, listen, I didn't do my job the best and I was messy, but that's not criminal. And they proved that Braddock had a motive, which was revenge. The Chrisleys also deny any said that there was no gay affair and he made that whole thing up. But if so, then this man has lied to the feds and he's now conducted a felony. He would have had to sign a contract with the government already that said, you can't lie. If we find out you've lied, we, destroy you, basically. It's make a long story short. Well, if you like my videos, like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. I do feel sorry for the Chrisley kids. This is going to be not easy no matter how it ends up on the family. Now, I do want to point out that USA Network, which they originally had their show on, and then they moved to E, and there's a spinoff for the kids show. I do want to point out that their season with E has their series, Chrisley Knows Best, has been renewed for another season. So it's likely we're going to see on the show some of this criminal stuff play out. If they're smart, they'll do that and leverage it, so that they can try to pay their restitution, which I would imagine is going to be a lot of money. And while you're in jail, you have to pay rent in jail. So they'll have to pay jail rent. And, you only make, I think, when you're working in jail, like 19 cents an hour. So so they've got this season. I would imagine that they should do the most they can with it. But yeah, they were renewed. But I don't know how they would shoot the show while they were in jail. Maybe leading up to jail, but not in jail. That would be tough. Oh, I guess they could have one person go to jail first and then do the show, and then another person, when that person comes out, kind of like what Teresa Giudice did with Joe, and then the other person to keep the show going, with an occasional call from jail, maybe. I don't know. Tough production situation, but they could probably work around it. A&E's in the wings waiting to have them on their show, if not. All right. Well, that was depressing. I do want to say that the next step for them, if they're guilty, is to have their sentencing guidelines calculated. If you guys want, let me know and I'll calculate them based on what they are actually found guilty of in the end, if anything. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, have a great week. I love you guys. Stay happy. Stay safe.